75. It's a proud moment indeed for Indians across the world as the country celebrates 75 years of independence. So today on The Good Life with me, Priyanka Sharma, we celebrate India. Its rich culture and heritage. Its many gifts to the world. From yoga to the beauty of Indian cinema to, of course, the rich flavors of Indian food. We'll talk about all of it. And of course, India's soft power. That will be our big focus. It's a force to reckon with. So let's get started. And now let's talk about India's many gifts to the world. Yoga. They say it's not just a workout or a fleeting fitness trend. It's a way of life, a holistic approach to good health. They also say there's a yoga asana for everyone, which is what makes yoga a strong symbol of India's soft power. Take a look.
An asana for every ache, an asana for every ailment, an asana for every mood. This is the power of yoga, India's gift to the world. A symbol of India's soft power. It has captured people's imagination across the world. Not as a fleeting fitness trend, but as a way of life. Instagram may throw new fitness trends at you. From high-intensity interval training and Tabata to lifting weights, but away from the cacophony of grunts and cussing. Is yoga a calmer and more holistic approach to health? It focuses on bringing harmony between your mind and body, and is just as effective in helping you meet your fitness goals. The practice of yoga is believed to have started with the very dawn of civilization. The United States defines yoga as an ancient physical, mental, and spiritual practice that originated in India. The word yoga is derived from Sanskrit and means to join or unite, symbolizing the union of body and consciousness. It is a physical and spiritual practice, one that the world has embraced and capitalized. Today there are 300 million yoga practitioners worldwide. The industry is worth around $80 billion. Influencers have sprouted up left, right, and center, promoting a holistic lifestyle centered around yoga. The West may have woken up to the power of yoga through the Beatles, but today yoga is at the forefront of American fitness. From Jennifer Aniston, Matthew McConaughey to Sting, and of course Bollywood stars like Shilpa Shetty, Kareena Kapoor Khan, and Malaika Arora. Celebrities swear by yoga as a way of life. Every year, the world marks International Yoga Day on June 21st. This year, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi likened yoga to a global festival as he participated in a mass yoga demonstration. India has capitalized on the power and reach of yoga, and rightfully so, not as a religious or spiritual tool, but as its true soft power. So grab a yoga mat and practice daily.
But what's a good yoga asana without the perfect form? And now let's go over to a yoga instructor who will tell us about some popular yoga asanas and of course their health benefits.
There are few asanas like Sukhasan. Sukhasan is the base of all the asanas. We sit on the ground, we keep our grounding strong, we lift the spine up. Another one is Bhujangasana, Cobra pose, that helps in keeping the spine flexible. As we know that this flexibility of the spine, your spine is equals to your life, that how healthy you are. So that is one of the best asanas anyone can practice regularly. Another one is Paschimottanasana that brings overall flexibility in the body. Another one that we do is Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward dog pose, that will help you in strengthening your body, will increase the flexibility in your body and will also lengthen your spine. Last one is Malasana that we do, that will help you in keeping your digestive system perfect, intact. And another benefit of this asana is this will help you in keeping your pelvic area flexible. Another asana that we do is Vrikshasana, is tree pose. Tree pose will help you in keeping the mindfulness. Like we talk about mindfulness, you have to focus on any unmoving point.
Indian food, the rich aroma, the flavors, and of course the cooking method steeped in tradition, Indian food has charmed the world. From the spicy bhel puri to the humble khichdi, Indian recipes are now making a splash at a global stage. So what are we waiting for? Let's celebrate Indian food.
Let's take you back to your childhood. You got hurt playing outdoors. You were tired after studying for hours, prone to seasonal allergies. Remember what your grandmother did? Possibly, she handed you a glass of Haldi Doodh or warm milk with a dash of turmeric. It was a solution to all aches and ailments. This miracle drink is, to this day, a staple in most Indian households, a homemade remedy passed down through generations to boost immunity and promote good health. But with the onset of Western trends and fads, we forgot to enjoy our cup of goodness. Until the day that Starbucks woke up to the magic of this miracle drink. Marketed as a turmeric latte, this warm yellow beverage made waves across the world a few years ago, from Sydney to San Francisco. To the cafes of Berlin and London, the turmeric latte has been hailed as the miracle drink of our time. But Indians have been enjoying its benefits for generations, without the heavy marketing or social media hype. It's not the only slice of Indian wisdom that is being celebrated in the West. Indian food and flavors are making a splash globally for their rich flavors, aromas, and herbs seeped in tradition. From turmeric latte or Haldi Doodh to liquid gold or good old ghee. The wellness industry has capitalized on several Indian ingredients and practices, and of course, the practice of Ayurveda. Coconut oil is being extolled in the West as a marvelous superfood. The crispy savory pancake or classic Indian dosa is being offered in different recipes across the world. Let's not forget the classic Indian Khichdi, a comfort food in most Indian homes. The humble one-pot dish of rice and lentils has been recognized globally for its health benefits. So much so that Michelin star chefs have given this dish their own spin. Garnished with olives and served with rosemary chicken. Gone are the days when Indian food was synonymous with chicken tikka masala. Today, the world is adopting Indian wisdom and eating practices. While culinary diplomacy may not be at the forefront of India's foreign policy, Indian chefs and tastemakers are introducing the world to India's rich culinary heritage. So instead of paying for a turmeric latte or golden milk at an overpriced coffee shop, opt for your grandmother's Haldi Doodh recipe instead. A nod to India's rich food heritage.
India's soft power diplomacy is visible in all its gifts to the world. Yet there are some global tastemakers who are representing India before a global audience. In our next story, we introduce you to one such personality. Zorawar Kalra talks about why Indian food is now a global sensation.
India, a land of rich cultural heritage, of native ethnicities, of gastronomical flavors, plentiful and distinct. Indian culture is truly diverse. And so is the culinary legacy of the country. Bringing Indian cuisines closer to the global consumer is massive restaurants. The food establishment experiments with a variety of Indian cuisines, putting them on the global culinary map. Founded by Zorawar Kalra in 2012, the brand has been at the forefront of culinary innovation and excellence since its launch.
Focus has always been on Indian food. We're always going to be an Indian food company. We're always going to be a chef-driven company. We're always going to be an innovation-relying company. And Massive Restaurants now is in 10 countries. It's going to be in 10 countries by the end of August. We're opening in the US by the end of August, Farzi Cafe. Currently in 9 countries, including India, and in about 14 states of India itself. So it's a very, very exciting time for us. But more importantly, I think I'm happy to say that the journey to put Indian food on the global palette has started with Farzi Cafe. We are very proud of the fact that it's doing incredibly well in London, Canada, all over the Middle East, Bangladesh. And we want to open more and more restaurants because I think the best way to export your culture is through either the food or through your media. Bollywood is doing a good job with what they're doing. And I think up to us, restaurateurs and chefs, to go and put Indian food on the global palette and exporting our culture in that sense.
Becoming a food entrepreneur was just the right progression for the son of the Tsar of Indian cuisine, Jaspal Inder Singh Kalra, better known as Jigs Kalra. Considered an ambassador of Indian cuisine, Jigs Kalra is best remembered for hosting one of India's first food shows, Daawat, in 1991.
Let me clear some cobwebs about red chilies.
His journey of putting Indian food on the global palette started with the many festivals he did around the world. I remember him doing a very special festival in St. Moritz in Switzerland, where he put Indian food on the culinary map for the first time. It was in, I think, the mid-90s. Where he did the first festival. He's done many festivals since then, and he, of course, brought into play many of the lost recipes, such as galauti kebab. Things like the galauti kebab, which is now considered like a absolute must on any good menu, was actually going to be lost. It was lost and just stuck in one place in Aminabad and Lucknow. He actually worked very hard to document it, to study its significance, to improve it, and then bring it to the rest of the country. So not just with internationally, which he did through many food festivals and restaurants that he was a part of around the world, but he also did a lot to create a renaissance for Indian food within India itself. So he was instrumental in making Indian food more important, not just globally, but even for the Indian palate.
Chicken tikka masala has strangely epitomized Indian food. Thankfully, food enthusiasts appear to have now moved beyond it to appreciate truly diverse dishes from India. We asked Zorawar Kalra, what is that one understated Indian dish that could be reinvented to appeal to the global palate? And his answer was rather surprising.
Kind of underdog dish that people don't talk about and people haven't done much is the khichdi. It's the most common dish in India. We all have eaten it, but it somehow suffers from a perception problem. Many people think of khichdi as when you're ill, you eat it when you're ill, but actually it can be transformed. It can be given a really good treatment, a modern treatment, and be given, a star status. So in that sense, I think khichdi is one of those dishes that definitely has the potential to kind of go beyond its silo that it's stuck in and become a favorite around the world. It's a comfort food for all of us. International audiences don't know much about it, but if you put enough pizzazz, put enough uniqueness into it, put enough effort into it, you can definitely transform the humble khichdi into something much, much bigger.
Back in the kitchen, the head chef, Aditya Jha, was instructed to reinvent the humble khichdi.
What's happening? I hope you're making what I asked you to make.
Oh wow, I just started.
Yeah?
I'm just
Nice. Khichdi, man.
It was now time to serve a Zorawar Kalra. Did this interpretation of the Indian superfood impress him? Let's find out.
Wow. Looks like a piece of art, boss. I have to take a photo of this. Actually looks like a piece of art. There are four comrades to, or four perfect akutrama to khichdi. Yogurt, pickle, ghee, our traditional ghee, and of course papad. Instead of the yogurt, we've used a special yogurt aioli, which is kind of like a mayo. We've also, instead of the pickles, had a blueberry that we've fermented and pickled and put that instead of the pickle. For the crunch, which is the papad replacement, we've added crispy quinoa as well as butternut squash. And the ghee is a special kind of ghee called durust ghee. It's an Avadi technique where the clarified butter ghee is basically infused with spices. And the end result is something that would look completely in place at a 3 Michelin star restaurant. And I think on Independence Day, we should celebrate the khichdi.
That was an explosion of flavors in the mouth, as Zorawar Kalra puts it.
It's amazing. It's kind of like the comfort food, but elevated.
We couldn't agree more. It is dishes like this that are helping Indian restaurateurs slowly conquer world kitchens.
In our next story, we introduce you to India's crafts revivalist. Designer Anju Modi has been a force to reckon with in the Indian fashion scene. She has travelled across 24 states in India and revived some old traditions that were once forgotten. In our next segment, she tells us why trends may come and go, but Indian tradition must be celebrated. What represents India better than its history of craftsmanship, where each pattern, each stitch, each motif tells us a story? These designs represent a slice of Indian history and heritage, weaved together after painstaking research and travel, inspired by traditions in different corners of India. Designer Anju Modi is known as India's crafts revivalist, and rightfully so. She has travelled across 24 states, studied traditional handloom and craftsmanship, and brought our forgotten shared history to mainstream fashion. In India's glitzy fashion circles, Anju Modi is perhaps one of the last remaining traditionalists.
The work by hand is so very, I would say, meditative and spiritual in its overall approach. So it kind of, brings the peace and the spirituality and the love around. So everything goes in a very philosophical way. I take it from that. And the nature is so much prominent in our country, in every village, every region, whether it's desert or the, the jungle and the forest feel of the Manipur and Assam or the Ganges. So all these factors of our country plays a big role in our textiles, in our culture, and that's what is making it timeless.
At the recently concluded India Couture Week, Anju Modi added the magic of travel to couture. Her collection, The Road Less Travelled, celebrated India's rich cultural history. Actor Aditi Rao Hydari was the showstopper, but what attracted global attention were the traditional weaves. Her travel across India has served as inspiration for her intricate designs, with nearly 3 decades of experience in Indian fashion. So what have been her big learnings? Let's ask her.
Culture of the country, of the regions, and of course while you are living with them, you are having their food, interacting with them, understanding why they are weaving certain motifs, what is the meaning behind those motifs and everything. So you absorb the culture of the country very deeply, and I think that's where my all design ideas are coming from. And well, I would say they are my teachers, really, the craftsmen.
Anju Modi is famous for designing costumes for big Bollywood productions like Ram Leela and Baji Rao Mastani. She says she has worked closely with director Sanjay Leela Bhansali to bring his vision of grandeur and opulence to life.
I went to Bhuj, Mundra, Mandvi in Gujarat, to the Kutch region, and understood the kind of work which they do. And to get the work done from those many artisans over there. So that requires a lot of patience, and in the heat of the desert area, that was another, trying times. But at the same time, it was very, very satisfying, where I went to the Maharashtra, Pune, Nasik, all those remote areas to learn the way they were Nawari saris, or the way the Marathas wear the dhotis, which is very different. And what Ranveer Singh was wearing the dhoti was the Peshwa's way of wearing a dhoti, so which we learned over there.
The contribution of Indian artisans to the craft behind couture is undeniable. With Indian fashion now making global strides, is the world finally waking up to Indian craftsmanship?
Sadly, it's not really recognized so much as of now. Though many design houses are getting their work done over here with the artisans, whether it's Dior or any big fashion houses. But that is where I think our responsibility comes, where we need to portray the design of our country, the craftsmanship, the knowledge, the aesthetics, the deep meaning behind each and every traditional designs. So those kind of ideas we designers are now using in our garments, which are becoming very global. So it is going to get its dues in near future, I believe so.
Anju's desire to revive forgotten crafts has moulded much of her design sensibilities. From the zari work of Varanasi to the bandhani of Gujarat, all are an integral part of her storytelling.
When I started visiting the places, so I saw very old antique pieces lying around, and those were very beautiful, perfect designs. And I said, well, why don't you make now the same kind of zari, the real zari, which is very thin and very intricately woven in the fabric, or the bandhani, which is very old and very fine, those danas. So they said, well, we don't get the buyers for it. So I said, well, you make it for me, I will make it, I will sell it, and then the more you create the market, the more work they get and their economic situation becomes better. So that's how I revived it. But I would say we all designers are actually are the people who are also getting benefited from their knowledge, their craftsmanship.
As we celebrate 75 years of independence, it is perhaps a time to reflect on what we may lose in our race to adapt to trends. Indian craftsmanship is another example of India's soft power, but only if it is cherished and celebrated.
Father of the nation, Gandhi. So Gandhi ji had introduced khadi because it is hand woven, handmade, and so every household is going to be self-dependent. They are not going to depend on the British Raj clothing. So that was one of the movement. And then to make the khadi a center stage of the fashion and the glamorous world also is also a huge contribution of the country and the designers all together. And the Independence Day is kind of a reminder for that.
It is indeed a proud moment for Indians across the world. The country is celebrating 75 years of independence. So here's wishing all the Indians a very happy Independence Day. And on that note, it's time now to wrap up The Good Life. Thanks for watching with me, Priyanka Sharma. See you next week.